Hello. Today I'd like to show you how you can add font to your slides here, as well as changing the color, size, bold, etc. as you add font to those slides. So let's get started. Over here on the right side of the page, you see there's just kind of a plain background there. So let's say you want to add font to that slide. In order to do that, you can click on this little Add Text to Slide, the T at the top. And as of right now, it shows up pretty small and on the left, but let's say this is the text. We can say add text here. Okay. The first thing that I'm going to do is the most, I wouldn't say challenging, but the most intensive here that I want to spend most time on is changing the color. If you go to the right side, you see this little box here, which right now is white. I'm going to click on that. And there are a few different ways that you can add color. There is the slider here that you can change the brightness of the color. Just pick from the list of colors that are there. You can use a spectrum of colors. You can use pre-established ones that are already set here. So you can click and say, I want this green color here, etc. I do tend to use the wheel the most, personal preference, but actually, more than that, I do like to have my pre-established colors set up here along the bottom. So these are ones that I tend to set at the beginning of the theme, and then I use those throughout the theme. So since we're starting the New Year series, New Year, New You, I need to set some new colors to go along with this theme. So I'm going to click on this little color dropper here, and I can go and pick out any color out of here that I think might be useful. So for example, maybe I know I want a darker green that I'm going to put in the background of some of my slides. I have that one. This one I had already preset from before. Maybe I want to pick a more olive green. And I don't necessarily end up using all of these, but it's nice to be able to have them to pick from so that I have them when I need them. I'm going to pick a lighter green. This is less the olive, but I might also slide this over here and say, I think I'm going to pick up this green too and put it in my color palette. Any colors that you had from before that you say, this was from the last series, I don't want to use this one. Let's just say we had a red in there, and there's a red, you say this one is not really going to go with this series. You can just highlight it in the blue here, click delete, and now it's gone. This one was from a previous series, but I think it might actually work well with this one. I may just make it a little bit lighter. And maybe delete the other one. The other ones I have down here, really I can pull from anywhere. The whites and the grays are pretty easy to find. Black is pretty easy to find. But because I tend to use this color palette so often, I put all of the colors I prefer using down here in this color palette. I may also want to pull a couple colors that match slightly but have a little bit of contrast. So I think I'm going to pull a couple blues in here as well, maybe a lighter one, something that's a little brighter. This is up to personal preference, how you feel about adding your colors, your artistic ability, but I do like to have all of my colors preset for the theme and loaded here ready to go, so that as I build throughout the theme, I already know that this is going to match with this series. So now that I have my color palette assembled, let me come back here. This is in blue, maybe not the best color for this green, but we'll continue to use it. So you also notice behind the color, you can change the font here. You can pick whatever you would like to choose. There are certain ones that I do tend to use a little bit more often. The Georgia tends to be one of them that I use. Helvetica from time to time. Heffler is the other one that I do like to use. So let's pick the Heffler for right now. I could bold it. Not all of them will be bold and italics, depends on how they're preset into your computer. I can change this to, let's say, 150 point font if that's what I'm looking for. I can center it, or I should be able to right align it as well. Sometimes, especially like during readings, we'll have it go all the way across the page. This one, maybe let's say we'll center. You can align it at the top, the middle, or the bottom. For this one, we can say, let's go to the middle there. And then there's one other thing that I would like to show you while we're working on text here. Let's say you would like to give this a little bit more contrast. You say that doesn't quite stand out and I'd like to see it a little bit more. So I'm going to highlight everything again, and I'm going to go to this box here with Object Properties. You can add a shadow. If it's a title, sometimes I'll use 6. If it is not a title and it's just text that's supposed to sit there, I might use 2 or 3. I'm going to keep it at a 6 so you can kind of see what happens and how far offset the shadow is. But let me pick this white color here out of my preset color pattern. And you see that the white makes it pop a little bit more. So you could do that. Maybe you prefer not to have a shadow. You could add kind of a background. You can add this rectangle here. And let's just say I want it to cover the space. I can then, I should be able to right click, there we go. So I can send it to the back. That was to front. This one is to back. I have to highlight it first. And then that makes my text stand out a little bit more. You can change the opacity of that box if you prefer as well. If you want to make it a little bit more see-through so that you can see what is behind it. I had the words highlighted there. So let's say I want the words to be bright, but I want the text box to be a little bit more opaque. Do that. So I can add my own text box in this as well. If you would like, I very seldomly do this. It's kind of a pain in the future when I need to change things, but if you know you want this to be set and you don't want to accidentally move it or delete it, you can lock it into place so that that text box will no longer move and you can continue to move other items around the page. I believe this should be everything you need to know to get you a good start at adding text to your pages. So happy formatting!